So let's jump into this game.
So we've got Anthony Treadway on your right, going to be playing Leela Patel. Now this is a gang sign Leela, so a little bit different, a little more controlling
build.
And
this is a bearded matchup.
Yes.
These two great-looking beards.
The bearded grudge match.
Anthony comes from Alabama pretty regularly to play with us. Great guy, great player.
Yeah.
And Gordie, some of you should probably recognize, won the SMC here last year. So and you know, he's I think less than a year into the game even.
That's
this kid's
phenomenal
a prodigy.
Player.
So he's running NEH. Pretty standard fast advance stuff.
Very straight fast advance. 2 biotics, a swordsman, so that'll be spicy. Team sponsorship, so great. All the splashes you'd expect. 3 Sansan, 3 Astro, obviously being the cards impacted by the most wanted list.
Yep.
So very straight, fast advance that we're all are used to, know and love, and I think the influence choices he made make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I've seen people cutting down on the biotics, which I like personally, but I've never really been a huge biotic user in NEH because I'm a scrub, I guess.
Now on Anthony's side, he has, as I mentioned, I think the win condition is mainly centered around gang sign. He has 2 HQ interface, 2 gang sign, has 3 Desperado. Also has standard breaker suite, splash for Gordian Blade, Mongoose, that's a new card. A lot of the rest of it's fairly standard, daily cast, security testing, Katie Jones. So he's got a lot of the, I'd call it the good stuff criminal deck going on here.
I think that's sort of his idea. Is he wants to be able to do whatever with this Leela and then also dominate you with her ability.
Yep, so. Also has R&D interface. So got very good normal criminal win conditions, which makes a lot of sense. Again, these are not bad cards.
It's just
if
against
you get
this
going,
meta,
if you do Leela, Leela does Leela, you can win a lot of games. And especially against NEH where you have a much lower ice count than some of the alternatives like we saw in the last game against Hospiroid. All right, so we're drawing up, getting some money.
Yeah, pretty good opening hand here.
And
sure gamble, Earthrise is always nice to see in hand.
And I think I see an account siphon there.
Yeah, and so Gordie, right back to him, doesn't see really the ice that he needs right now, but he'll drop a CBS to draw another CBS.
Yeah, so CBS not going to be relevant in this game based on everything we can see, but you got to have it. In a deck like this, you have to be playing at least 1 copy, and 2 makes a lot of sense.
I would say at least 2.
Yeah.
So.
And my favorite NBN ice, Archangel, also in hand. If you can't be bothered to install Archangel, if that's just too much of a nuisance, you just let them hit it in your hand and bounce it. I love Archangel.
I really hate that card. Like, it's strong, it's powerful. I play it when I play NEH, but I don't like the card design. I don't know why.
It's
something
gross
about it.
So we got a nice looking hand from Anthony. I think he's trying to figure out when to go on Siphon. You've got a lot of resources in hand, so he's got to, I think at this point, needs to be mindful of managing the tags. But I think it's perfectly reasonable to get Katie going. All right, so CBS, doesn't matter. I don't know. That's interesting that he's trashing. Looking at his list, I don't think he has anything that is really relevant that would cause him to want to trash. Plus, it's also relevant because it's helpful for security testing purposes, too. So that's interesting.
He's running security testing.
He is running 2 security testing.
That is an interesting choice. Huh. Yeah,
well, it's in the trash now, so we see an Astro script in hand. So Astro
Astrobiotic is
only a biotic away.
Although that's one reason he went and trashed it, right? Is now that he's trashed that, he's maybe signaling that he's got it. That being said, there's no SMC, there's no clone chip, so Gordie doesn't care.
A little bit tougher to front a clot when you're playing the criminals.
So at this point, I think Gordie just maybe building up Econ to do that. I think that might be the play. His ice, not ideal right here for setting up a scoring server.
Agreed.
So I think that's probably the best bet at this point.
And you do have to be very careful with NEH against going to 0 or going to low money.
Aaron, this is breaking news, ironically.
What's
he just
that?
installed Archangel.
That's fine. It does work on both sides, on the board, in your hand, in R&D. Whatever. Yep. It's flexible. It'll bounce cards no matter where. And then
that's the thing is against Leela, you have to have a second ice there.
My favorite is playing Archangel against Leela. It's like, oh, you want to bounce my cards back to hand? Take it. So this is a nice looking hand from Anthony.
Yeah, it is.
I think that Gordie does have to be very careful because against Leela, if you go to 0 to score, you're going to get stuff bounced back into hand. She'll siphon you, she'll R&D interface you, and then you just get blown out of the game. Gordie knows this matchup, so I know he is very cognizant of that. DBS is very nice here.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to trash it. I mean, it's good because he's costing Leela money, but with Katie and daily casts up, Anthony's got to be feeling pretty comfortable here.
And he's got the card advantage going with Earthrise. That was a nice pickup early.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a passport in hand. He needs one more breaker to feel comfortable just blind running and probably dropping the account siphon at that point.
So, yeah, I think Gordie at this point is just trying to turtle up a little bit, build some money. He's got two Astro in hand now.
So that's less than ideal again. You know, if he had 5 more money, he would think about just fast advancing.
Oh, now he's got the okay. Well, he's going for it. And
Interesting.
He's going to hope that R&D or HQ can do its thing and hold up against the siphon or hold up against multi-access.
Yeah, this is
All right, so we're going to decide what to bounce.
Yeah, and this could be really important, the decision of what to bounce. Yeah.
All right,
he bounces
bounce
the Archangel. So Gordie's pretty happy about that, actually.
Best part is still functional in your hand.
Right.
So not a net loss, not a huge net loss for Gordie even. All right, we're so yeah. So we've got Earthrise Daily Cast online. This is looking good, but we do have the Astro scored. So
and he's got multi-access in hand, and he's got a siphon in hand. So he's got all of his wing conditions if he wants. Yeah, he's just going to go for
nice,
HQ.
Especially with the second Astro
That's
in
really
hand.
smart,
huge.
yeah. He knows Gordie forced that out, sitting on 1 credit. Probably can't res that. Might be a resistor, though. Nope,
no, this is a great play.
Yeah, this is a really, really smart play by Anthony. He's going to access 1, 2, Astro.
Oh, perfect. Gets paid off.
Yep.
Great play. I like you really have to seize on those Leela bounces. And I think saying if you have the next one in hand, I have to go find it before you can score it. I think that's
bounces
key.
the HQ ice, which was a toll booth.
This
so,
is doing what Leela does.
This isn't looking great for Gordie, to be honest.
Now, he does have the Astro score, which you can always have those kind of win out of nowhere, just draw the right part of your deck. But this is where Leela starts to do it, especially with that R&D interface in hand as a follow-up play.
Imagine if he had scored off of that R&D access.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so Gordie at this point, what is the what's the ice over R&D? I couldn't remember.
I didn't see it.
Okay, well, but he needs to. Gordie just needs to stabilize. Yeah,
and that's the issue is he didn't have cheap ice to begin with, so I think he felt like he had to rush out that Astro, and I don't think he's wrong. I think he's scoring those 2 points and having that counter in exchange for another 2 points for the runner, I think that's not terrible. It's just he's really vulnerable now.
He does have that special offer, which is very nice.
I mean, I'm amazed he didn't put that in front of HQ. I think he needs that right now. Although in front of HQ, again, that sort of helps Siphon.
True. And yeah, Anthony is going to continue to commit to HQ, it looks like.
So some clown in chat has told me that it's Turnpike in front of R&D. I don't know that I believe him, but, you know.
That's a perfectly fine one. All right, here's Siphon. He's going to put him to the test. No res, so he's just stealing all his money.
Yeah. And I think Gordie's okay with that, honestly. Only losing 3 credits right now, like he was already on the back foot.
I really like that blind Siphon there.
I think that's really smart by both players, honestly, how they played that.
Even if he can brick you and keep you out, I think forcing him to 0 is so important here to
on
let
the flip
Leela
side,
continue to get momentum.
Now Gordie can play that special offer and feel a little more comfortable about it, and hopefully get it to fire. Okay, so it is Gordie's turn. He will draw, install. He installed the special offer, I think.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
now, this is the problem: is you get a handful of fast tracks and biotics, but no money to use them.
I don't like fast track, man.
Yeah,
I play one of in my NEH.
Yeah, I'm not. I agree. I think I like it as a one of. I think this is in my experience when I've played multiples. This inevitably is what happens to me.
Right.
So yeah, just Anthony's had a very nice looking hand, and part of that again is the way he's constructed his deck. He's playing the good cards. There's no question about it. But I think he's found a real nice rhythm here of continue to commit to Katie. He's got the multi-access on board. He's really got a powerful setup.
And that's given him a really versatile option if Leela doesn't fire, but we've already seen Leela fire twice, and that's really helping him out here. So he's in a really, really good spot now.
At this point, only needing 1 credit. I mean, I almost just take tags at this point, and if you trash Katie, whatever. But I just feel like committing to the R&D lock at this point is so powerful. I don't know that that Gordie's going to be able to stop it.
That feels like the play.
So staring at the board.
Now with no money in hand, on the board at all, Gordie's. But the Turnpike Trace will fire, sounds like.
Okay.
He sees a sweep, which
will be
Gordie
big.
is going to want. But that's incentive for Anthony now to not draw, but he does. Okay,
no, I only see 2 siphon. I mentioned this earlier, I think, to you before the show, in Anthony's deck.
Yeah, it's
so
an interesting choice there.
It is. I would prefer the 3rd siphon over a couple other cards here. Gordie doesn't know that. I'm sure Gordie assumes 3 siphon, so he's going to play like siphon is probably in Anthony's hand. So sometimes just knowledge of what you think is going to be in the deck can work against you.
And I think that's something that a lot of players fall victim to when they're deck building, is that I want to make my deck as versatile as possible to have all these answers, but that means it's not really great at any one thing then. So we'll see.
So runs the special offer server, I think. Check that. Doesn't want to lose from a...
Okay, so he's going to let him see the pad, which he can't res anyway, so Anthony's probably not going to trash it.
I like the check though. Don't
don't
let them sneak something out. I know he has no money, but you need to know what's on the board at all times.
Fast track. Okay.
Because it also helps you plan around siphon to know. Okay,
absolutely.
This is something he could dump money into. That's very key.
Yeah. Gordie finally draws the money. Yeah. The card draw by Anthony was interesting. I think seeing that sweeps, you stay on 4 or 3.
Yeah.
Force him to take a suboptimal sweeps. But, yeah, Gordie's going to take a credit sweep and then take a credit. So he's up at 6, just inside siphon range.
Yeah, this is where having the 3rd siphon could be big.
Yeah.
You just got to keep the pressure. If you siphon him at this point, you're
game's
putting him
all
back
over.
into the Stone Age. I like getting the Earthrise going because he's been spending some clicks drawing cards. I think having free card draw to find that next siphon or to get a gang sign. Gang sign also here, not letting any H just draw out of it would be
that's the one
big.
piece of the combo we haven't really seen yet.
So, yeah, Anthony just kind of sitting back in a nice position. I think Gordie is going to, now that he has a little bit of money, try and draw himself out of this.
Yeah, and that's the thing,
Astro.
is Anthony's spent a lot of this money sort of getting to where he is. He's now sitting on 5 credits. Not a lot, not a great amount. And doesn't really have a way to apply pressure now, as we said. So Gordie has a chance sort of here to recover and come back. He needs more ice, though. He needs to better shore up HQ.
Yeah, now this is where you ideally at this point in the game as NEH want to be at 4 points with an Astro scored, because Beal here doesn't do anything but clog up your hand. You're not going to waste the Astro token to go to 4 and not have fast advance threats, especially with this little money. But I think that Anthony, if he plays his cards right, I think could get either an HQ access to try and pull that out of his hand, or just force him to spend money trying to protect himself, either of which really kind of makes that Beal start to clog up HQ. And that's where Gang Sign and HQ Interface go to town.
Right. So it looks like Anthony is going to run the pad. Nope, not. Yeah, I don't know that he cares about it right now, although letting it sit there when Gordie's still on relatively low money is dangerous.
Yeah. And what I really like about Anthony's deck, he's got a lot of money in this deck. Just lots of random different money cards. He's got Sure Gambles, he's got Armitage, he's got Daily Cast, he's got Katie, he's got Career Fair, Dirty Laundry. I mean, he is committed that I am not going to be a poor criminal that just runs out of steam, and I think that will and clearly has benefited him so far. He just always seems to be drawing into more economy to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, he's missing icebreakers though right now.
He has a Corroder in hand.
Yeah, so he has them both in hand. He doesn't want to drop them down right now. You know, he's not rich yet.
Sure.
He's loaded up, but he has yet to fire. So I guess that makes sense. But at some point here, he's going to want to start reapplying pressure because Gordie's bank is building back up now. So,
all right, so
Archangel goes down. That was an Archangel, right?
Yes, it was. So install credit, just trying to get some more defense on R&D, which I think is perfectly reasonable, especially with 2 Biotics in the deck and no threat of Clot or anything to stop him from fast advancing. I think Gordie needs to know I'm in a position with only 1 agenda in hand. I just need to protect myself long enough to be able to fast advance my way out of this.
That being said, with an RDI there, I mean, he's defended R&D, but Anthony's, when he does get accesses, he's going to have some threat. So where's he going with this? He hasn't popped Katie yet.
Okay, so just doing an
Archives. For Archives run.
Playing it as an easy mark effectively.
Reasonable. It's not unreasonable right now.
Okay,
wow,
just
interesting. Okay.
Trying to get some money.
Yeah. So he's not really worried about Gordie scoring out this next turn, I suppose.
And then are we going to assume we'll use Katie at some point?
Yeah, I would say probably install an icebreaker and hit Katie. unless he drew for click 1.
Yep, there we go.
Yep.
I think Katie's a card. If you're going to put it in your deck, you need to commit to use her every turn.
Yeah, especially, I mean, he's playing multiples of enough that he's going to see a lot of her. He needs to use it. And now he's looking good in terms of money. Now he's ready to start applying pressure again. I would say maybe a turn later than he would want to, but
now, Gordie's in this
Gordie's
nice
seen
position.
a lot of new cards now. Yeah.
Gang sign's not on the board, so he's kind of got a window. He's got a sweep that he could use, get some more money. Sand's a nice one to put out there.
Really needed to see that because, we know that scoring server is not actually protected by any ice. So having the San out is going to be good. But again,
the
no
problem
way to
with San,
so.
and Anthony's shown a commitment to check all the remotes,
every
and
remote.
he's
so
clearly
there's
with
no
12
way,
on Katie. He's got an 11 just actual credits. He's got plenty of money to do something about this and shut down San. So at this point, I think Biotic and the Astro counter are Gordie's tickets to victory.
And that's the rough thing with this sort of build that Gordie's got. He's got a single toll booth, which we know is already installed now. So the big ice that's going to help protect him in those servers is simply not there. The wraparounds are dead now officially.
And to your point earlier, this is kind of why I don't like so many multiple fast tracks, is because at this point you're not going to be able to keep San out there, so you kind of shut down the value of that. You can't just get the Astro or get the agenda and win off of that necessarily. I understand he's got 2 pointers in the deck, but he's very far away from that being relevant to closing out the game.
Yeah. Although at this point, it's rough because there's only one Astro left in the deck. But if you just Biotic score the Beal, you're on 4 points. If you find the other Astro, you're on 6 points.
Yeah.
So that might be the play here, just to sort of rush it. I know that's what Ross would do if he were here. But Anthony's going to stall his third icebreaker. So he's got central access now. There's a Desperado that, would have liked to see earlier.
Always is, right? And he did. He is still playing the full 3 post most wanted, so he's got the right density in there.
And now the decision is what to do. He doesn't have any real pressure in his hand, just more assets to use. And so he's thinking about what he wants to do. Running HQ or R&D is not bad here.
No, just
forcing Gordie to spend some money to res.
He's certainly drawn enough cards at this point to where it's very reasonable to expect that he's got more in hand.
Because right now he doesn't have a scoring server built. So I think that's probably the play here. Although he can maybe expect to see the toll booth.
Yeah, at this point, make Gordie spend some money. Archangel's gross. It always is, but you have to realize you're going to be up against it at some point. And as criminal, they just don't have great answers against it.
Right.
So thinking about it, you just got to pay your way through.
An absurd amount of money.
This is why Archangel is so good.
But again, he's got Katie, right? So this isn't. It's not terrible, right? To be able to get these accesses on HQ.
All right.
There's the toll booth. So.
Now, I would be a little bit nervous about that res because we haven't seen an emergency shutdown, but that's a really juicy target, and I would be very mindful of if I'm going to go to 0 and only have a turnpike on R&D. I don't know that even if he pulls the Beal here, I don't know that going to 0 and giving up.
He can't get through.
Yeah.
He paid 3 and was at 1 money, so he couldn't break it anyway.
I guess that's something. I don't know if keeping him out is so important that I'd be willing to give up R&D accesses because that's where the Astro is, and that's the only relevant card at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with you there. So he's going to drop the San. It looks like in that server with Pad.
Okay. So, yeah.
But there it is.
All that Katie money.
Yeah, he would have liked to have that a turn earlier and go back to HQ, I think. There's a special offer, more money. So that's pretty ideal for Gordie. He's okay with that, I think.
I really love that card. I play 3 of it in my Spark deck where it gives you a little bit more value, but I think that is part of the draw. Between that and pop-up window, I think both of those cards are just phenomenal for exactly this situation. You go low money, but it gets you back in the game quickly.
So he's going to pay to trash the San.
Yep, you have to.
And the Pad. And the Pad. Wait for it. And the Pad. No, please, Anthony.
Okay, trashed them both.
There it is. Attaboy.
Now that he's got the Desperado online, so much easier to check remotes. And San's always a tempo hit, but he rightly respects the card and knows you have to trash it.
Yeah, and if he had security testing, maybe not, but at this point, I think trying to keep Gordie on as low money as possible, which is why it might be, you know, good to run the third siphon.
Also true.
Would be ideal.
Siphon,
So,
I mean, obviously at this point, Gordie's invested a lot into protecting HQ.
yeah, so at this point, that's going to be more rough. But the fact that Gordie doesn't have a scoring server, really, like, with that toll booth res over HQ, you got to feel pretty safe as the runner.
I really want to see some R&D pressure at this point, because if you could get him while money's low and then start bouncing that R&D ice if you score, that could really just make R&D really, really porous to the point where he would have to pay the money to build out his server again.
Yeah.
Gordie doesn't have a lot of, I mean, he's played his pad campaigns, he's played his sweeps weeks. He just doesn't have a lot of money that's available to draw right now. So I just feel like
they're both sort of in a tenuous position.
Yeah.
Like, Anthony's got plenty of money, he's got a rig, but he just was forced to pop Katie. Gordie, on the other hand, doesn't have a scoring server.
Right.
He's on, you know, a middling amount of money.
Right.
So really, it's going to come down to, I guess, who makes the more successful aggressive play.
The Jackson's nice here.
And it's not looking like Anthony.
Being able to shuffle in some sweeps weeks or something would be big. All right, so Anthony just kind of figuring out when does he want to strike. He's got the Armitage on the board, so he between that and Katie, he's got a lot of ways to get back into
drops
this.
The Jackson, I think, draws a San off of the Jackson draw, or off of the NBN draw.
Also, the Explodapalooza, which after making the most wanted list, I think that has been, in my experience, that was the first cut I made was NAPD swapping out for Explodapalooza, and I've been very happy with the card. I mean, it kind of gives you that boost even when it's stolen, and while it doesn't protect itself in the same way, I think in many cases it accelerates you into the next fast advance or gets you the ice res that you need. So I personally think that that's been a very positive part of the list of getting that to be an agenda that actually sees some additional play.
Right. So we're going to drop the special offer over that remote and drop 2 agendas, Explodapalooza and Beal, into the bin. I think that's fine for him. That's good. He's really just looking for the Astro right now.
Yeah. Now where this is going to hurt him is he's given Anthony enough time to get a gang sign out.
Yeah.
We do see the security testing. If gang sign comes into the game, what happens is when you start putting agendas back in the deck with Jackson, they start building up in your hand, and then gang sign closes the game real fast.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to try to get Jackson off. Very nice play by Gordie trying to set that up.
I would have liked to see an R&D run if he was going to do that.
Yeah.
Honestly. It either gives you more looks at R&D or forces a lot of money spent on res.
Yeah, to me there, if you would have run Archives, you would have had the same result. So there was no way to, I think there was no good reason to let him, knowing that it could be either a pop-up window or a special offer, no reason to let him get the free money.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so yeah, I think the big question here is, when does Anthony decide to strike and go after R&D? Because now Gordie's got enough money to presumably res stuff.
Yeah, he's got the R&D interface. You got to wonder, like, why is it there if he's not going to use it? I mean, maybe he's intimidated by that ice, but it's NBN, right?
Yeah.
The worst that they could really have is toll booth.
That's right.
And frankly, at this point, you can handle it. You've got all of your economy out.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, the game's gone long enough. Gordie is going to be drawing a lot of agendas. And I think that Anthony, to me, it would be very reasonable to just focus at this point on R&D pressure and drawing into a gang sign, because that could really help him at this point, letting Gordie just kind of play his cards and saying, well, I'm going to score regardless, so you do your thing. But yeah, got to get rid of that San. Nice play.
Yep. We'll check both. It's pad. Kill it. I mean, at this point, Gordie's got 12 money. It's maybe not relevant. So just like Anthony doing what we're doing. Yeah, waiting for him to find the right pressure card. He's happy to drop Flash Cretan security testing. Yeah, and limiting the remotes here is fine. I think people have gotten too used to sort of remote spam.
Yeah.
And so in games like this, he feels like he needs to clear out all the remotes. When in reality, he should maybe just be applying pressure to R&D.
No, that's totally fair. And I think Gordie's kind of gotten to the point where he really hasn't gotten punished a lot for letting the game go this long. There's got to be a lot in R&D.
That being said, he hasn't done a lot to try and score. He's still got the biotic. He just drew another Beal. Just do it. Just do it, man. I'm telling you, that's the way. He's pondering it.
Yeah. Here we go.
Drop one, get the NEH draw, and then biotic.
So Anthony's going to have a big decision of what does he want to bounce, what does he think is most threatening, because now is his single best opportunity to go after R&D.
Yeah, and that's the really, really rough thing right here for Gordie is that we know that density is pretty high in R&D. So.
Okay, and we picked the, what was that, the resistor?
I
think that was a resistor.
Is that another special offer? But no. Yeah, it was a resistor, which is okay. That wasn't really going to do a whole lot against Anthony's rig.
So if I'm Anthony here, I do a security testing run on the pad campaign or on archives. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Just to check that face down.
And to get some money, get 3. Okay, so we got gang sign now. I still want an R&D run here really bad. I like having gang sign in. That's great, but I think we've got to have an R&D check here pretty quick.
Yeah, I will be flabbergasted if he doesn't run R&D.
All right, here it comes. This is what we know. This is what we've been waiting for, and it's my favorite. Always Archangel.
I hate this card.
I love this card. What's to hate? It just sits there and it's like, hey.
I don't even like the art.
You would prefer Insane Clown pop-up window, the ugliest alt-art ever printed?
Yeah,
okay.
I've got like 40 of them.
Okay. I do as well because I'll never play that card because it's the most god-awful art I have ever seen.
If I put them up on eBay, I will have to pay eBay. Yeah. That's how bad those cards are. So Archangel paid for it, but now he's hitting the turnpike.
All right, so we're going. Yeah, I think use Fairy at this point.
He's got Mongoose in hand.
Yeah, I mean at this point, this is Fairy's best target.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what we get.
Score it. Nope, Jackson. Can't trash it.
And
that's
team
rough.
Sponsorship.
Those are 2 cards he would really like to be able to trash, though.
Very true. Sponsorship will be nice. I mean, Jackson, to me, at this point, can do maybe more harm than good, and then he'll give a shuffle to be able to see fresh cards. I'm sure Gordie will be happy to see it if he wants to start overdrawing to get to that Astro. Because at this point, I mean, it'd be nice if the scored agenda on Anthony's side wasn't an Astro, so he's drawing into that a little bit more.
Okay, I'm okay with this. I like the fast track play at this point. You need that Astro. You know he can't get into HQ right now.
I think that's a very reasonable play.
So you spend this turn just holding on to Astro and taking money, and then next turn you score it.
Yeah, I think
you know there's no clot.
Very heads-up play.
And at that point, Anthony's on game point. But man, it's a good thing he's got 2 fast tracks. Turns out I was wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm still not wrong. I mean, I think that's the best play here, and he can either wait out the second or. I mean, it's going to really depend on what Anthony does here in terms of applying pressure. He's got to go back to R&D, I think, but he can't afford it.
And this is what I love about NBN, right? He has 1 turn, essentially, that he's protected before Anthony can get in and go after this.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's all NBN needs. Yep. NBN, when they see those windows, nobody is better at closing out the game. And at this point, with the other fast track, I think absent a really, really disastrous set of R&D runs at this point, Gordie's got it pretty well locked up. So very, very nice job of kind of battling back against what was a very good. I think it was a very solid Leela opening. A lot of pressure, but
I mean he made a really tough decision. He essentially knew that by scoring that Astro, he was going to probably lose the other one, and in this case, that was okay.
And I will say, I mean, even if R&D would have been run earlier, I think the MVP here. Archangel. I mean, Archangel is the single card that if you stare at it at this point, you can't make those profitable repeat runs on R&D.
None of this is convincing me that it's a good card, right? I mean, Archangel, it's a good card.
It's a good card.
Let me rephrase that.
You don't have to like it.
I still hate it.
It's still good.
Yeah.
But, I think clearly gives you the protection you need.
Yeah. And he didn't see the fast track, but he will find out shortly that the game is, in fact, over.
So, gang sign didn't do a lot of work, but frankly,
he didn't see it early enough.
Gordie never really got flooded. There were a couple of turns early, but he really kind of dodged a bullet of not getting too clogged up. But he did. He committed to the toll booth Archangel on HQ, and he was rewarded at this point because it's bought him enough time.
And so, we can look back at that and say, well, what if he had another account siphon? He could use it there. But
this is true.
I don't know. It's so hard to say.
You've got to make choices. I mean,
Right.
this seems like a little bit more controlling build, and I
Right.
I think account siphon doesn't always lend itself well, especially in such
Right.
a resource-heavy economy. Tough decisions, exactly like you said.
And so that was probably what led to that decision, is that he knows there's going to be a lot of remote spamming economies out there. But it ended up hurting him a little bit today.
All right. Well, we are going to see Fast Track for the win, I have to imagine here.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to, okay, he's running HQ,
just
but yeah,
fruitlessly
it shows
going.
him Fast Track, so that'll be the game, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Didn't
he
even
doesn't-
need to go find it.
Oh, he had it in hand.
Had the
Whoops.
15 minutes.
Didn't even notice. So, yep, that's that. That'll be near Earth Hub, Leela Patel.
Yep, good game, guys.
It was a good one. There, it looked like Anthony might have had his sort of way into the game. He had some good pressure cards, but then ran out of steam. Really.
Yeah, I do think that I still enjoy watching the Criminal NBN matchup. I think Criminals still have so many of the tools that fight through that NBN early game,
absolutely.
and you get into what I think is just a fun match of who can make the bigger plays first, and who can kind of fade the bad luck run or bad luck access.
Yeah.
And so really well played by both of them.
Yeah, and I think scoring that bailout was really smart.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
That sort of turned the tide a little
Played
bit.
it at a time when he had the window to use the biotic and didn't get punished.